This year we are celebrating a paradoxical feast. How we can celebrate a break, a broken leg, a wound. It's not something that we could celebrate a failure even. If we approach to this centenary, is because something happened very deep through this failure, through this wound. And that is the occasion also to contrast what happened to him, Ignatius, and what is happening to us, not only personally, but also collectively, because the pandemic has been something similar to what has happened to Ignatius. Suddenly, our Jigen, our civilization, has been stopped by a virus, something that we have not chosen, like Ignatius didn't choose what happened to him at that time. But that is the way how the Lord come to us to transform, to convert, to make a totally turning point in our life, personal life, and now in even collective life, our civilization, Eastern civilization. And we can say that we are looking to the celebration from the end. Now we know how it finished. But when Ignatius suffered the wound, he didn't know at all what will happen with him. Like us, personally and also collectively, we don't know what will happen to our personal wounds and also to this communitarian and civilization wound. And we have to pass through all the steps of what Saint Ignatius passes through. And some scholar people talk about the 4 steps of a duel, which is when we lose something important. Our first reaction is to deny what is happening. Also, Ignatius, when he was wounded and was arriving to Loyola, and he had an operation to his leg, his first reaction was to have another operation to put the leg better, because he wanted at all accept that he has been forever broken, will be forever live as with a broken leg. So this denying make him more suffering, but was needed to assume the process, which was not at all easy for him. Also, each one of us have important wounds, and mostly our first reaction is to don't look at them, because it's too much pain, too much suffering to assume. Our first reaction is to look back of it and trying to run away. That is the first reaction that Ignatius had himself, also in lying in Loyola. The second reaction is when we see that we cannot run away of it, we try to distract it. We try to negotiate. We try to do it not so important, not so a way of really make us, that will make us to transform, or we don't know change. No, so we try to negotiate to do it in a lower level. And the way of how Saint Ignatius was distracting himself was reading the books of chevaliers. With his imagination, he was making a evasion of his real situation, in order to imagine himself as he was not sick or wounded. But he makes him still more frustrated. Like us, when we are running away of our situations, we are trying to avoid them, but in not a realistic way, that make us make more trouble, more sadness, more confusion, because we are not accepting reality. but still it's not the time for it. The third moment of this process is the rage, the rebellion. We are then become angry, and we criticize everybody and all the situations that have made this wound, this failure, this stop, and all the other people are guilty, and we are not still assuming what is happening. Also, Ignatius have all this criticism against his society, or perhaps against the family that put him in this career that has been finally a total failure. And after the rage comes the depression, realizing that you cannot change it. Then you become sad, depressed. We never will be again like this. And Saint Ignatius could be stopped on that, become a drunk soldier, or have a very destroying personality after this what happened to him. Only when he's able to accept what happened in his life, and to understand that accepting that something new was a new possibility of his life was coming to him, then this wound become a doorway, a light where through the Lord arrive to him. And it's not what is happening with us today. It's not what has happened in our life, in the very punctual moments that what has happened to me, because why this stop, why this failure in my life. And if we go across all through what has happened to me, it's not the opportunity, it's not the kairos, no, the way how the Lord come to my life to put me in the correct track, and discovering that I was not in the correct track, and it was a not personal election, because my ego has not understanding to look really what was good for me, or what was really in the opposite side of my growing, spiritual and human growing. So, and it's not also that what is happening perhaps today with the pandemic. It's not the opportunity that we have as a civilization, Western civilization, to put in question our way of living, our way of consuming, our way of production, that makes a destruction on the rest of the planet, the rest of the earth. But probably what has happened to us collectively put us still only in Loyola. Loyola for Ignatius has been his first conversion. For soldier, he became a pilgrim, but it was only the starting point of a very long and deep conversion that only has started in Loyola. We can talk about a second conversion, that is Manresa, where we are now, that we here is Montserrat. Ignatius from Loyola to Barcelona, he stopped Montserrat, beautiful mountain that's with me, and it is the sanctuary of Our Lady. And he gave to her his sword, because he felt that still the rage in his body, the rage in his heart. So he needed to offer what still in the violence that he felt in himself. But it was not enough. He had the opportunity to one more year here, besides Montserrat, where we are in Manresa, 25 kilometers far, and he goes still deeper into his wound, because in Loyola he was into his body wound, but inside of him he was a psychological wound, much more deeper than what the cannonball has broken his leg. He was lack of looking. His mother died when he was born, and probably also his father was rejecting him, because looking at him was again, was a way of remember his wife. So look Ignatius was to look the lack of his wife. So also perhaps Ignatius as the Benjamin, the more the smaller brothers of the 13 brothers, he has suffered the reject of the looking of his parents. His was lack of recognition, and his lack of recognition, he tried to compensate it, to balance it, looking for honor, looking for glory, for many big in order to be recognized by others. So when he arrived here to Manresa, he is an unknown man. Nobody knew him. He comes from outside. Even he didn't talk the language of this place, which is Catalan. He didn't talk even the language of the villagers. So he felt his loneliness. And then in one side, he thought that he could be much saint that Saint Francis of Assisi or Saint Dominic or other fathers of the desert, making longer fast or making more prayers than all the others. He was still fighting against God, or fighting against his trying to honor, to achieve his holiness. But that has a second moment when he also remember all the sins that he have committed before. And on one side, he's idealizing himself. In other side, he's making him the most sinner and the most guilty man in all over the earth. So he's still the center of himself. Only when he totally surrendered to the Lord. And it is said in the autobiographies, he says that one day, looking at a small dog walking in the street, he started to cry to the small dog that he will follow him if he will be liberated of this suffer he had. When the soldier and the noble man of Loyola is able to ask help to a small dog, is when he really surrendered to the Lord. And when he surrendered his ego, he surrendered his idea about himself, when he goes to the very underground of his old shadows, of his old inner hell, then something new happened to him. And he started to understand the Trinity, to understand the creation, to understand, and the most important experience he had is in the Carnero River, where just below here, where he says that walking to another monastery was nearby. He stopped looking to the river, looking also to Montserrat, to the Pyrenees, they are in the other side, looking to the city, looking to the cave where we are now over, and suddenly everything appears to him in a new way. He says that he was not a particular vision, but a new understanding about the things of faith, things, spiritual things, and things of letter. He said, things of letter means cosmic dimension, cosmic understanding of the matter of the earth. What he saw was the inner presence of God everywhere. That reality and God, there are not two different things, but God is the hidden dimension of reality, and reality is the visceral dimension of God. No, to find God in everything in God. That is the heart of the Ignatian mysticism. That is what he received here in Manresa. But he received here in Manresa because he passed through all these steps, not denying and not evading, not running away, but touching the wound, the physical and the psychological wounds he had. That is what we call to do today in our life. That is the opportunity of this centenary to go into our personal wounds and to investigate, to inquire what is the message that is hidden in order to grow through them. Following Ignatius, we are following our own life. It is said by Confucius that the wise man is the one who, walking the old path of the ancients, learn to do a new way, a new path. So let us go into our inner personal wounds. Let us go also to this collective wound that has been the pandemic, and asking to the Lord if we are able to surrender ourselves, which is the new message, the new meaning that is waiting for us, and that is the occasion that we have with this fifth centenary celebration of what has happened then. God bless you, and have a nice time to go into yourself and to go into the secret of our world.